Hey guys, welcome to this tutorial, and I want to go over how you can create a to-do list in Redux and React. So the way that it works is you have a to-do app here, and then get some milk, add the to-do, and by default you show all, and then you can choose active or completed. If you click on it, it becomes completed. Clean room, make bed, and you can do it and undo it. You can change them back to active, and that's basically it. That's how you create a to-do app. And the tutorial that I'm using is the basic example in the official redux.org documentation, and I went through all of these over here in the basic tutorial, and the code is very similar to this, except I took out the TypeScript checking because I just wanted to make the tutorial a little bit more simple. And also, I went to react-redux.js.org, and I went through the quick start guide and the basic tutorial guide, and that's kind of where I get the code from, and where I get the materials to do this tutorial. And the reason I'm telling you guys this is because this tutorial is a little difficult to follow through, because Redux for me, it took a little while to grasp, and I'm still learning a little bit more how to do it. And Redux is not the most straightforward library or framework. I'm not sure. Library. It's not the most straightforward library to learn out there. It's a little bit complex because of all the boilerplate code. So if you get confused, just go back to those materials that I showed you here so that you understand what's going on. Especially go through the reducers page here, store. Usage with React, and the basic tutorial here. Those are probably the most important pages to look over and just kind of read through to understand how this tutorial works if you're getting lost through my tutorials. So having said that, I'm going to create a new folder, and npx. I'm going to create a new React app, create React app, practice, I think it was 18, just my own personal numbering conventions. And I'll be right back after that finishes loading. Okay, so now that we've installed React Redux, let's go into the cd into that folder. And I'm going to go ahead and install npm redux, npm install redux and react redux. So basically, Redux is the state management framework, and React Redux is the connector that connects Redux with React. Because Redux is very good to use with React, but it's not actually preloaded with React, so you have to use separate libraries to actually connect those two together. So once these two are installed again, I'll come back. Okay, so now we're back, and I've installed npm. I've installed Redux and React Redux. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the source file, and I'm going to go to index.js, and I'm just going to exit. I'm going to go ahead and do npm start in the console. And in index.js, I'm going to go ahead and start our code here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move that over here. And I'm going to import provider from react-redux. And this is going to be from the component, so I'm just going to change that to component.app. And of course our thing is going to break, but that's okay. Import create store from Redux. Then import root reducer from reducers components. So to give an explanation, provider and create store, this is what it enables connecting the state to the Redux app. Create store kind of combines all the states into one file, and we can access the store from like things like store.get-state. So we can do things like store.get-states, things like that. And provider is a React-Redux from React-Redux library, and that allows us to actually connect all the states to be accessible from any component within the React application. So I'm going to go here and say provider. Copy and paste that right there. And I'm going to go ahead and go do const store is equal to create store root reducer. This root reducer is a amalgamation of or a addition of all the other reducers that we already have into one file. And I'll show you how to do that in a bit. And here we go, store. And that's how you make all the states from the store accessible to all the components inside the app component. And here we're going to create a new folder called components and create a new file called app.js. And here we're going to say import React from React, import add to do from containers, add to do. We're going to say import visible to do list from containers, visible to do list. Actually, we're going to add these in later. For now, we're just going to do const app is equal to export default app, and we're going to add a div element, wrapping element inside there, and can't resolve. Index components, module not found, should be here. I'm not sure why it does this, but occasionally I have to restart npm. So I'm just gonna do that and npm start, and it should work. No, module not found source. index module not found can resolve reducers. Oh yeah, also it did work. So npm restart did work. And then this time I don't have a root reducers folder, so I'm going to go ahead and create that as well. Create a folder called reducers that has all the reducers inside it. New file, index.js. Expected the reducer to be a function. Import combine reducers from Redux and export default combine reducers. That's going to be empty for now, and refresh. Expected the reducer to be a function. Let's go to console log and if I go back to index.js, root reducer from reducers, that's right. Expected the reducer to be a function. Okay, I'm back. I think it was another npm misstart. So I just restarted the npm and it works. There's no errors. So we just added in the empty reducer template into the store. And now let's go into the app component and add some things in. Let's add in a add to-do form. And I'm going to import it from add to-do from containers add to-do. And the files and the components we're going to add in the containers are the ones that are going to be functional, which interacts with the state. So it's going to be functional, whereas the components inside the components folder is going to be all presentational. So if we go to source, add new folder called containers, and add a new file called add-todo.js. We're going to say import React from React, import connect from React Redux, and we're going to say const add to do is equal to return div and then export default connect add to do. So this connect add to do function or code, if you go back to usage with React, not usage with React, if we go to forgot exactly where that code was. It's not here. It's, I think, was it store? Yes. No, not store. So basically what it does is when you use the function connect, it returns another function so that this is like another function, and that this is add to do is the variable that goes into it, and this is the variable, this is the basically the component, and you put in the component that's going to use the props that have been turned into props from the states or dispatch methods that we later are going to insert. Or if you only have one or the other, you can use one or the other. Here's a good scenario, whereas common ways of calling connect, this is the part you want to read. Depending on what kind of components you're working with, there are different ways of calling connect, with the most common one summarized before, and there's these 1, 2, 3, 4 methods here, and it's described right below. In this one, we're using connect components, so we do not inject action creators and do not subscribe to the store. That's kind of what we're doing here. And we're going to go ahead and create a form with the input type text, and we're going to do something funky here. Let input is equal to input, and we're going to use the react ref attribute. In which case, element or any variable name can name that anything is equal to input is equal to L. So input becomes the element here, this. So this input basically now refers this. That's where input and L becomes equal. And now we can actually call that input from within this component. Then I'm just going to create a button here, add to do, type submit, and so far we have module not found, can't resolve, containers, add to do, and app.js. So let's see, containers, add to do, not working, but we just created that here. I think that's another npm misstart happening there, so let's do npm start. There you go. So we have the component kind of showing up here right now. I'm not sure why it's doing that. It's very annoying. Would be nice if I don't have to restart npm all the time. And add to do. That's good. And then let's say form on submit. On submit is equal to e prevent default if input.value.trim. So if it's all spaces or if there's nothing there, we want to return an empty function, or empty, I don't know what, just return empty, return nothing. Else we want to go ahead and use a function called dispatch. This is a this is a Redux function, predefined function. So we're going to say if there is something in the input tag, we want to dispatch the reducer called add to do, and we're going to pass in the input value as a prop. I'm not sure if that's a prop, I'm just calling it prop there. Value is equal to this. sorry. And then input value is reset back to empty. And add to do is not defined, and that's fine. So let's import this into actions. Actions are kind of like labels for what's going to happen. So that's what that is. Actions. So I'm going to create a new folder called actions and create a new file called index.js inside here. And let next to do ID is equal to 0. Export const add to do is equal to text. Type add to do ID is next to do ID plus plus, and then text. Pass in the text. Great. Okay, so when we press the button, we get object is not a function. And I forgot why we get that error. So I think that's because we haven't defined the reducers yet. So let's go ahead and define a reducer, or let's do an index. Whoops, we already did the index.js. So let's do todos.js. This is going to be const todos then export default todos. Here we want to be state is equal to this, or action. So basically what this part is saying is we want to pass in state, but if state is not defined, we want to pass in an empty array. That's basically what that is shorthand for, in case you're not familiar with ES6 JavaScript. Then we want to say switch action.type case add to do. We want to return everything that's previously been inside state, so the previous state. So reducer is a pure function where you pass in the previous state, and then with an action you combine those to provide the next state. So that's kind of what we're doing. So we're making the next state here, and since we're doing add to do, we're adding another task into the state, so it becomes the next state object array filled with task objects. So ID is equal to action.id, text is equal to action.text, and the thing completed is false, since that's the default state of a new to-do list, to-do task. Then we want to do a default case, and we want to say return state. And we still get this error, so let's see. On submit, view compiled. Object is not a function. Type error. Okay, so we have no more errors. There was another npm misstart error, and now if we add in something inside, there's no errors here, and there's no errors in the console log either. Okay, make sure the argument passed to combine reducers and object whose values are reducers. Yep. That's because our reducers doesn't have any actual reducers combined inside here. But if we get the to-dos reducer we just created, we can add that in there. And come over here and say import to-dos from to-dos. And we can go ahead and add in to-dos, and that error should disappear. Yep, no errors. And now that we actually can type something in and enter it, we want to go ahead and create the to-do list. That's going to show the added in list items. We're going to go back to app.js. And we're going to create a new component called visible to-do list, and import visible to-do list from containers visible to-do list, and create that new file here. Visible to-do list.js. And once again, this component is going to interact with the state or have some dispatch props dispatch to prop methods. So that's why we're going to put this component in the containers folder, because it's a functional component as opposed to a presentational component in the components folder. So this is a smart component versus a dumb presentational component. That's another naming convention. So we're going to import connect from react-redux, import, we're going to do this in a sec. Gonna export default connect to-do list. To-do list is the component that's going to be utilized here. So let's create that. Import to-do list from components to-do list. Can't resolve components. Then let's create a new file called to-do list.js. And here we're going to say import React from React. Const to-do list is equal to export default to-do list. Here we're going to say UL, and we're going to pass in two props. So first one is to-dos, the array to-dos that has all the objects, to-do objects inside, to-do task objects, and toggle to-do. And this is going to contain another component called to-do from to-do. to-do, whoops. So to-dos dot map to-do like so, and to-do list.js. Can't resolve to do, oh right, we have to create that. So let's create a new folder, a new file called todo.js. It's called import react from react. Sorry guys if I'm going over without explaining some of the code. It's a little bit difficult for me to understand all, but I just kind of have a basic understanding of how to create a to-do app using Redux and React. So this is more like a reference tutorial that you should watch in conjunction with reading the documentation that I showed you earlier at the beginning of this, the introduction of this tutorial. So that's a good idea to do that. This is kind of like going through how to create it once you have a introductory understanding of how Redux already works. So to do in the todo.js file, I'm going to say const todo is equal to three parameters: on click, completed, and text. Export default to do. Sorry, this is an arrow function that contains a list. Just gonna say task for now. And cannot read map of undefined in to-do list.js5. So map to, that's because to-dos is undefined. Let's see, to-dos is undefined. Do we have a export to-dos? So to define the to-dos and toggle to-do, we're going to go to visible to-do list, and we're going to create two different things. First one is going to be a const map state to props is equal to state, and const map dispatch to props is equal to dispatch. And here we're going to say to-dos is defined by another function here, const get visible to-dos. To-dos and filter get visible to-dos state to-dos and state visibility filter. I'm going to just kind of like go ahead and type out what I'm going through. Toggle to-do ID dispatch toggle to-do ID. Actually, we can go ahead and not do this for now, just to make it less confusing. So let's make this function up here. Switch filter and case visibility filters, show all, return to-dos as is because we're returning everything. Case visibility filters show completed is equal to return to-dos filter, where task is equal to task completed case visibility filters dot show active. Then we want to do the opposite, so copy and paste this and do that. And then default throw new error unknown filter. Visibility filter is not defined, so let's go ahead and define that. Import visibility filters from actions. And once we go to actions, we want to define export const visibility filters show all show completed and show active. So cannot read map of undefined in to-do list. So it's still undefined, and the reason is we haven't actually exported it yet. So let's go to to-do list and visible to-do list. Want to actually use this, so we're going to do that. Unknown filter undefined. So the to-dos is working, and then now the filter is undefined. So state dot visibility filter. Does that work? npm start. Okay, so if we go to console, unknown filter, line 14. Unknown, spell that correctly. Okay, so to fix that problem here, we have to go to index.js in the reducers file, and then we have to add in a new visibility filter, reducer. And then we're going to go ahead and import visibility filter from visibility filter and new file visibility filter.js and import visibility filters from actions and const visibility filters, whoops, export default visibility filter. State by default is visibility filters dot show all. And action, so switch action type and case set visibility, filter, return action dot filter, and default is return state. There you go. So now we can actually add in tasks. Let's see. So this code state is by default set to show all, and then action is something that is passed along. So I think if we go back to visible to-do list, state is passed along here, the visibility state, then that's passed along to here and is selected to one of these. Then that's gone to visibility filter back here, and the action type is set here, and then case visibility filter. No, that's not right. Case reducer. Then we want to return action dot filter. That's this action dot filter. So action dot show all, action dot show completed, or action dot show active. That's where that's coming from. And by default, we want to return state as show all. So that's working. So let's go back. Let's change this to the actual task. So let's go to do, and here we're going to say text each child on the list should have a unique key. Okay, so if we go to to-dos, no, not that, to-do list. To-do list, we should say key is equal to to-do.id. Pass in the to-do whole state of all the tasks that currently exist, and on click. We're not going to add in the on click yet. We're going to add that in a second. Great. So we're getting the text added in. And then we're going to add in a couple things. On click, we're going to pass down a on click method. Then style is going to be whether it's crossed out or not. Text decoration is completed. If completed is true, then we want a line through. If not, we want nothing. Great. So if we go back to to-do list, here we're going to add in something called toggle to do so we can cross it out. So on click is equal to array function, I'm sorry, not array function, normal function, toggle to do.id. And let's see. Toggle to do is not a function. Let's go to index and add that in. Export const toggle to do is equal to ID. So type is equal to toggle to do, and ID is just going to be ID. Toggle to do is not a function. To-do list.js. So we go to reducers. And we go case toggle to do. Then we return a state.map and to do to-do.id. If to-do.id is equal to action.id, then we want to say return everything in to-do array, object array. No, return everything in to-do object, but change or update the completed variable to the opposite of what it currently is. And if it's not the same toggle, not the same as toggle to do ID, then just return to do as is. Toggle to do is not a function. Console.log. So on click, toggle to do is not a function. That's because we haven't passed it in as a prop. So let's go ahead and pass that in. Invisible to-do list.js. We want to say const map dispatch. Toggle ID. Okay, so that should be right. Toggle to do is not defined. And we have to import it from index. So we do toggle to do. And we're still getting an error, so let's go back. Toggle to do is not a function. Oh, right. And then we have to dispatch it or pass it in as a prop. So map dispatch to props. Great. So now it's not underlining it, but we're not getting any errors. So to actually put a crossed line through it, we want to go ahead to, let's see, to-do list, to-dos, and then to-do. So text decoration, let's see if we have a text decoration is set to none, and completed. See if we do that true. That's right. To-do list. On click. Expected and saw to-do.js line 14. Text decoration none. Okay, so if we go back to todos.js, I had a error, so this is a misspelling. Because to-do is a the completed variable is inside the to-do object that's already passed along. So now that I got that correct, it should work. Great. So now that we have that working, let's add in the footer. So let's go back to app.js. App.js, and let's add in the footer. Go to import footer from footer. And let's create a footer component, footer.js, and import React from React, const footer is equal to div export default footer. That should work. Insert a span.show, and then insert another custom component called filter link, and repeat that 3 times, and it's going to be all. This is going to be the individual buttons, so all active completed, import filter link from containers, filter link, then go to containers and create a new file called filterlink.js. Import connect from react-redux. This is a functional component or a smart component, so we're going to use connect. Import set visibility filter from actions, and import link from components dash link. Export default connect, and we're going to make these passed along to the link. Create props in the link component. Let's see, where's the link component? Oh, we haven't created the link component yet. So we'll create the link component in a little bit. we're going to create this first. So const map state to props is equal to state and then own props active. So this is going to be one prop or a state that we're going to access. Own props dot filter is equal to state dot visibility filter. Remember, if we go to index, visibility filters has show all, show completed, and show active. So that's the state dot visibility filter, and we're going to pass this along as a prop. So map state to props, and then const map dispatch to props is equal to dispatch and then own props on click dispatch set visibility filter own props dot filter. So set visibility filter is a new action. So let's go to here and then say export const set visibility filter. And that's equal to filter type is equal to set visibility filter, and then oops, filters the thing that's passed along. And then if we go back to the reducers, so now that we have it in the action, we have to write it in the reducer. Here, no, we go to visibility filter, and in case it's set visibility filter, then we return a action dot filter of what the filter was. By default, it's show all, but if it's not, if there's something that's inside the state, then we return that, and by default we return show all. Filter link module not found. Filter link module not found. So let's go to components and create a new file called link.js. I think this is the last one. Import react from react const link is equal to button children export default link. Children is not defined. Okay, so there's three props. There's active that's been passed along, and passed along from, where is it? I think it's from filter.link. So active here, this is passed along, and then we have to pass along on click. So we're gonna say, oops, say map dispatch dot to props. So on click is passed along. So we'll go to active on click, then children. Children is already default inside Redux, so we don't have to actually define it. So we have all active and completed. If we go to if we go to footer.js, we have all active completed as children. So if we go to link, I'm going to create a button on click is equal to on click, and that's the onProps filter, it checks this active thing. No, wait, no, onClick is this. It dispatches the set visibility filter .onProps .filter, and that goes to the reducer here, and it sets the visibility of whatever it needs to set to. So that's the order of how the files are read. So on click, and then disabled is on active, then style margin left of 4 pixel. So all set visibility filter reducer visibility. Okay, so go to console. Given set visibility reducer visibility filter undefined. Reducer visibility filter. Error given action set visibility filter reducer visibility filter turn undefined to no action must explicitly return the previous state. Visibility filters in action show all return action dot filter. That should work. Set visibility filter on prompts. That's correct. Okay, so visibility filter is returned undefined, and that's because in the footer.js, when we're using the filter link, we actually have to define what filter we are using is. So here we have to say filter. We have to explicitly define this. Visibility filters dot show all. And then I'm just gonna copy and paste this down here. And it's gonna be show active and show completed. And now if we type these in, that's all working. Completed, active, completed, go back to active, all. So make a couple of them completed, and then we have the active ones left. Make it all completed, all. So there you go. That's how you create a to-do application in Redux and React. I know this was so confusing, but this is, once again, this is kind of like a guide to go through with the reading of the documentation and tutorial in the documentation of the official docs. My explanation is most likely inadequate to go through this alone if you're learning Redux for the first time. There's plenty of good tutorials out there for Redux, so I'm going to link a few of them in my YouTube description box below. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, got at least something out of it, even though it was mind-blowingly complex to understand. But I hope you guys understand this, and I will see you guys in the next video.